Hello, welcome back. And on this episode of the Frogger, I'm just kidding. Okay, so what you guys should have, you technically should have multiple logs over here, right? Then you've got cars and other obstacles going. So today we're just gonna let's handle a couple things. So I want to have a different orientation of the frog when I'm going up and down, left and right. So as you can see, I've already done that for you. And so what I did was I'm just gonna do it the very simple way, which is to use different images for the different orientations of the frog. So what I have is I've given you the down, left, right, and then the regular one here, frog pick, is just the one that's going up. If you guys could, if you wanted to use my pictures, you could technically make your own by rotating your own images, but you can download it from here. When you download them, you can just drag them onto the same place, drag and drop. So the first thing we want to do is we're gonna keep this the same, but we're gonna have the 4 different types of images being loaded, and we're gonna set them up the way that you do regularly with this one. And so the first thing you want to do is go to your constructor. Oh gosh. And rather than just doing img is equal to get image, you're going to do it for left, right, up, and down. And for each one of them, as you can see, you want to invoke or call upon the name of the file corresponding to that orientation of the frog. So frog left.png is for left, right is this one, etc., etc. And then finally, the default image that this thing is going to point to is up, and so that's why img is equal to up. So essentially, right, the program itself will always try to draw whatever img is pointing to, and when we're ready to switch, what we want to do is we want to reassign what img is pointing to. It could be up, down, left, or right, and depending on what it's pointing to, that's what's going to be drawn on the screen. So again, by default, it's pointing to up. So when I click down, I want that operation to also say, hey, img should be pointing to the bottom, the down facing picture. And so that's going to be in your hop. So there's already events where we know we're triggering those events and we're already listening for those events. And that's where we're going to change what img is going to point up to. Case 0, when you're going up, you want to change it to up. Case 1 is down. You want to make it point to the down picture, and then left, and then right. Forget about this rotate thing. I was going to deal with rotation, but I decided against that. img is equal to left for left, and then right. And as soon as you have those pictures going, and then you add these lines of code, you should be able to see that your frog will now face whatever direction that you are making it hop. Perfect. So now let's deal with collision. So I believe what we have so far is that car has a get wrecked, or I guess the sprite does, has a get wrecked method. Or which one has a get wrecked? Yeah, so the sprite does. So what happens if we just have froggy extend? Does it break anything? Extends sprite. So I think what's gonna happen is we're gonna run into issues where it's asking to invoke the super constructor. So I guess we'll just do that, and then we'll override whatever it does with whatever we want to do. Let's see what happens there. Okay, so as long as you didn't break anything, you should be good there. So now we should be able to invoke the get wrecked method as well for the froggy. And if you wanted to clean this up, go ahead, feel free. You should have been able to clean your other classes up, right? So you should know that process. So now we have to check for collision. Let's do it under move or update. In theory, you could technically do it under paint. Wherever you have your for loops that visits every single one of those objects, you could theoretically do that. Wait, how come I have concurrent viewers? This isn't a public stream. Now I'm confused. Who's watching the stream, yo? I'm so confused. Whoever's out there. I'm scared. Yeah, I don't know. Live chat. Somebody. Weird. Anyway, I'm just gonna ignore it. Hopefully nobody's out there, because this was meant to be enlisted. Anyhow. So, where was I? Sorry, I got distracted. We're gonna go under update, and so we're gonna do so that we don't have multiple for loops doing the same like iteration. We're trying to save some cycles, right? So we don't want to like do one loop and then do another loop. If we can combine them, then we can just do it in the same loop. So here we're gonna check for collision. Check for collision. So again, a car and a frog, they're sprites. Both of them have a rectangle class. So I can just go here and check, hey, Froggy, go get your rectangle representation and see if it intersects. That intersects with the car at I. So you're having interactions with the two rectangles, right? The rectangle representing a car object, whichever index we're in, and then the rectangle representing Froggy. If there is an intersection, for now I'm just gonna do ouch. So let's see what happens. Let's make sure we can see some collision. And so far nada. And is this, am I running the right code? I hope so. Let's make sure I am making it here. It would be funny if this wasn't even running. I'm going to do a right click, close unrelated projects, just so I know this is the one that's actually running. I don't want to debug it, but if it's not. Okay, Froggy, that get wrecked, that intersects car 2, that. So here I could debug it and I could do like printing out of the rectangles. So Froggy, that get wrecked. So that should give me the rectangle representation of frog. So as you can see, as I move up and down, it's not actually giving me any updates on Froggy. So there's something iffy with the get wrecked for Froggy. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for car just to make sure that is working fine. But for car, it's working fine. So there's something off with how we inherited that. So I'm going to go to Froggy real quick, and I'm going to go to sprite. The get wrecked should be X, Y, width, and height. So the issue is because I didn't clean up my Froggy, it's like overriding all, it's getting confused as far as what it's inheriting and then what I have here as well. So at this point, since I'm just trying to do this very quickly, I'm going to remove this. And all I'm going to do now, it's a very hacky of a trick, which you guys shouldn't have to do if you clean it up. And then I'm just going to copy paste that get rectangle helper method. Okay, and then I no longer need to do that because those two are now unrelated. So now whenever I move, I can see that it's updating, which means that our collision should be back up and running. So I can remove that debugging line of code. And again, so you may not have to, but what you can learn from it is, just adding simple system line outs and spy on your variables. I know that there's a debugging tool, but with something this simple, you can just simply do that yourself. Cool. So now whenever we hit the obstacles, what we need to do is we need to reset Froggy back. So instead of just saying ouch, we need to move it back to its original position. Now, if I take a look at the original position, it's this. And so what I can do is I can have a reset or something, right? We can add a reset method. So this is where, as a designer, you get to choose what kind of methods a class can have. So you could reset it manually, or you could add a reset method. Public void reset. X is equal to 400, Y is equal to 750, and then image is equal to up. So let's say that I hit it when I'm going sideways. I want it so that when it resets, the image also resets, right? So if I don't do that, and then I invoke reset, froggy.reset, then the orientation of the image may look weird because it's not what you're expecting it to be. So you are expecting it to be facing up. So we just want to make sure that we do that as well. So reset position, and then reset image. Okay. So now that goes, that would be our, I mean, I guess we could have an infinite life. So I wonder if we want to do that. So here is my drawstring. It's going to be under paint, right? Anything that's being drawn on the screen is under paint. And so there is, I want to figure out where my lives counter is. So that's over here. So draw how many lives you have. The way that I have it at the moment, it's way too far down, so I'm gonna change this to around 700 maybe. So now I'm just kind of like figuring out where I need to put this, or I wonder if I should put it at the very top even. So maybe like 100. I don't know. Now I'm just playing around with where to put it. So there's a variable called myVariable. I called it myVariable because it's kind of an example of how you would print something on the screen. So now instead of myVariable, I think I'm gonna have something called like int life life counter is equal to 3. So now here I'm going to display life counter, and then I'm going to detect life counter here. So anytime that we have a collision, we need to decrement life counter. So that would go here, life counter minus minus. And so let's see if we can have that update properly. Reset, reset. Oh, so there you go. So now what we want to do is we want to do a game over. So right now the you lost thing is very small. I'm gonna put it towards the center of the screen. 200 by 400 or something. Oops, not 4,000. I'm gonna just set this to 3 so that it's always displaying. And then I want to use a bigger font. So we want to, whenever you're ready to use a different font, you just want to do it before you call drawstring. And then if you want bigger fonts over here, you can always change or add additional ones. You lost. I'm just going to create one. Font biggest. I don't know. I'm not that creative, am I? Change this to 80. And then I'm going to do biggest. All right, so good enough. Let me change this to like 250 or something. You know, let's be a little bit OCD on that. And then what we want to do is if we are in a you lost stage, when I click, I just want it to exit the program. And so let's add a mouse listener. The question is, does it already have a mouse listener? It doesn't have one yet. So that's going to be under the driver, right? So whenever you're setting up any sort of listener, you want to go under the driver, which sets up the frame itself. So here we're going to add it where you typically add it. So f that add mouse listener, and then we're going to do this, and then it's going to complain. So we're going to auto implement. So let driver implement mouse listener, and then it's going to say, hey, it should add the unimplemented methods. And so now at the very bottom, you should have mouse click. So here I'm just gonna do anytime we click, I want to see if it's gonna work there. So the issue, why is it, oh, do I have multiple instances? I do have multiple instances running. Okay, silly me. I was like, why is it still printing that? All right, so here, as you can see, it's clicking. So here we're gonna check if life counter is equal to 0, then we're just gonna do a system.exit. And so now we're gonna reset back so that we can actually lose a life, and then change this back to 0. And then when I click, it exits the program. Perfect. So that's how we can exit. Very simple. So now when we get to the very top, if we can get to the very top without running to anything, that should be fine. So for you guys, you should have your car and then your truck somewhere. The fun part is, the logs. What you want to do is have it so that when you jump on a log, you should be able to fit on them nicely. So maybe just change your spacing or something. I know that this background is so awful in terms of spacing wise, like it's not very appropriate. And hopefully I'm not like offending somebody who made this, but whoops, if so. Oh look, now it goes to the negative. So now I guess we could also have it like if you don't want it to work if life is 0, then we can also do it under key press. If life counter is equal to 0, system.exit. So then, they can't keep playing just because, and then have a negative life. You lost. And then when they try to go again, it exits. All right, good enough. What was I doing? Oh, the logs part now. So now when we collide with a log, though, it's different. We want to, if we are colliding with a log, we want to have a velocity that's the same as them. And then when we're not colliding with them, we want to wait. Did it reset in the wrong part? Oh, okay. Could have sworn. Okay. So now when we're detecting the log up here, instead of doing this stuff, maybe we should do something different. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna check for collision with the logs, and if we are colliding with a log, so this is not a traditional for loop now, right? So I'm trying to mix in a traditional for loop with the enhanced for loop, where it says take every log in the array list logs, and as you visit them, you're going to call that object L. So that's why we now have L. So maybe I'm just going to call it log. So it's not confusing because the L also looks like a 1, and that's me. All right, so instead of resetting the frog, I'm going to do a set Vx, which is going to be interesting because we have a hopping command and then at the same time we have a velocity. So that's going to be weird, right? So we're going to go log.get Vx. So we need to take the velocity of the log. So it looks like I need to add a getter for my sprite. Public int get Vx, return Vx. So if you don't have a getter that you need, just do that. And so now my hopping though, I think my hopping is no longer, my movement doesn't at all take into consideration Vx. And so I need to bring it back. Well, for Froggy, I still have move. So check yours to see if you still have move. Because now I'm going to invoke move at the same time that I'm invoking hopping. So that's going to be up here, which I'm already invoking. So in theory, as long as that's the only thing that sets Vx, it should be fine. Now the question is, why is it moving faster than the logs? Okay, that's weird. Is it me or is it moving faster than the log itself? So where's my log at? Why is the log so fast? The log is only -1, but why is it my frog is way too fast. I don't know why it's faster than the log. If I manually just set it to -1 because I know they're going to the left, would that work? Yeah, that's weird. Why is my frog moving faster than the log? Ugh. I think it's because of the fact that it's traversing every single log, and so it takes more work for them to move, if I have to guess. And so now here I'm just gonna do I'm going to add I'm trying to slow down the frog, but you can't get slower than 1 pixel. So I'm gonna have if math at random. This is really bad. Well, that should half the speed, right? Oops, sorry. If math at random is less than 0.5. All right, so I want to cut it in half. So I want to call move only half the time. So now it's at least better. Okay, cool. And I can even make it even slower. Okay, even slower than that. So this becomes a little harder to test as you. Oh, what the heck? As you actually have to pass your obstacles. So I would suggest just turning off your obstacles or something. Okay, so there it is. So now I don't want to have, if I'm not colliding with the logs though, I want to turn off velocity. So essentially I need something here that says collided. So boolean collided is equal to 0. Oh, true. And if I collide with it, I'm going to say code is equal to true, and then I'm going to break. If I make it out of the loop without colliding with anything, that's when I need to reset it back to 0. So if not collided, then Froggy set bx to 0. Because I'm not colliding with a log, then I shouldn't be moving. Whoa, what in the world was that? Oh, you know what? I can't break out of this because every single one of those logs need to be told what to move. There are other ways to kind of simplify the logic too. So for example, maybe you want to skip over this code if the frog isn't in that vicinity. So there's ways to save on the cycles. Sorry, I meant like the if statement there. So once I hop out, I need it to no longer. So I think the issue right now is that the logs are too fat or something. Or what I'm doing is, oh, it needs to be set to false in the beginning, not true. Ay, ay, ay. So of course, until you start checking, you're not colliding with the logs. Yay. So again, let's check that. I'm moving. Yay. Moving up, and then finally, cool. So in theory, of course, you would have logs here, so that should work. So is that pretty much it? So let's see. We can go up and down. We can collide, and then the other special thing is the writable logs. And then once you get off, you should. Okay. So I think I have code that says I've won. So really at the very top, if we're checking, yeah, we should check and update whether or not we've made it to the top. And then if we have, we can display that message or something. Which is right here actually. So instead of equals 0, I'm just gonna say if it's less than, I don't know, let's play around with the number. Maybe let's try 100 for now. And then as you can see here, I'm resetting it manually. So I'm just gonna do Froggy. You know, I want it to reset there. I want it to reset on a click. So we'll fix that in a moment. I just want to be able to get up there. You won. Cool. So if we made it, we can have something called when is equal to true or something. And then when, so boolean wins is equal to false. And then when we make it up there, right, we can set it to true. Wins is equal to true. And so now what we want to do is the moment they press any additional keys, it should reset the frog back. So let's do that. So here, if wins froggy.reset return. So that's the only thing we want to do there, right? We also want to reset wins to false now though, because we don't want to go here again. And then we can do the same thing for a mouse click, where a mouse click can reset the condition. You want, so mouse click would reset it. Let's do that again. This time around, I'm going to do it with the keyboard. So imagine imagine having to test everyone's code, and then having to actually pass and go to the logs. That's what I had to do for data structures. Time consuming, and for some it was kind of impossible. All right, so I think that wraps it up. So we can collide with these guys. We can ride the logs, and then we can get our life counter down. We can reset. If we completely lose with the 3 lives, it exits the game. That's how we end it. And then finally, when you win, you just reset to the bottom. Oh wait, we need something that says, do we want to count the number of, oh yeah, you guys can do that. So the same way that I'm tracking lives, you should be tracking the number of times that you've made it to the top. So you can call it score or something. So you can track the score and then have that be on the right side. Or wherever you put it, I guess it doesn't really matter. And I think that's it. I might publish one more video to add in sound, but this should be enough to kind of finish off with the seniors. Everyone else could add the sounds. Goodbye.